Hi, my name is Tim Go. I'll be showing how Oracle NoSQL database can be used in a very interesting business use case. I'll be going through the installations and download process of the NoSQL database software. Then I'll be showing a demo on how NoSQL database can be used in the specific business use case. So on this slide, I'm telling a story. There is a guy in somewhere, some town, in some state. He's running a local pizzeria and he deliver pizza to his customer daily. And the way he keep track of his business is on paper. So he started off his business small, and later his business grew and grew, and so he's now delivering a lot of pizza to his customers. And the next thing you know, he has the whole world in his mind. He would like to deliver more pizza to more customers around the world. And he planned to open 15,000 stores in 100 countries and 17 billion pizza a year, which means 500 million deliveries a year. And it rounded up to about 1.37 million delivery a day, which means around 57,000 deliveries per hour. Now, his wife is no longer able to keep track of all these activities using paper, so he would need to hire more assistants to help out or figure out a new way. My next slide shows some of the challenges and requirements that he needs to run his business. For example, he needs to deliver a very high quality pizza. That means customer satisfaction is very important. No soggy crust, lukewarm cheese, cold pizza, or crushed pizza. It has to be on-time delivery and also a very friendly customer service. And his driver is going to encounter traffic challenges in some cities and metro areas in some countries. Also, he needs to ensure his driver safety, good compensation, and well-being. Of course, he needs to run his business, so he needs to increase his profit year by year. And also, he needs to support a fast-growing business locally and globally. Next slide shows some technical challenges he faced running his business. First, the volume of data. Think about 1.3 million feet every 15 minutes. So the database operation needed is about 2,853 average operations. And during peak time, he would need about 14,000 operations for the sudden spike in orders during the day. And also, the database he need to capture real-time data and do real-time analysis. And also, there's a variety of different data, and he needs some sort of flexible schema to run to store this data as well. And the system would need to scale out with his growing business. So remember, his plan was to open 15,000 stores in 100 countries and delivering 17 billion pizza a year, and you can read the rest of the number that I presented before. That means one pizza per vehicle for every 15 minutes delivery. Let's make that a assumptions there. So he needs about 14,265 vehicles delivering pizza every 15 minutes. Let's say 10 seconds between every stream feed, 90 total number of stream per vehicle every 15 minutes. So Tim, during the day, he's a guy, a pizza guy. During the night, he liked to surf around the internet, and he found Oracle NoSQL. So he's going to give it a try. He's going to download the software and onto his desktop and run some testing. So what I'm going to show in my demo is the download of the software and test the single node store. The downloading process and setting up the store and be able to start testing is going to take about 5 minutes. end productions, let's say a 3 by 3 node store, it's going to take about 25 to 30 minutes to set up and ready. So in short, it's very easy and fast. To show the download and setup process, I'm using a virtual box here and it's running Linux. First, I open up a browser. Then I go to the Oracle download site. Since I use the 4.2.9 version, so I will use that previous version for downloading. So it's right here. Download that file, save it. Then open where that file is located. I will copy that file, close that, put in the directory called NoSQL, which is one of the directory that we created. Then I will use terminal to run the unzipping process. So let me find that file. It's right here. So first I would unzip that file. Then I would tar that. So I'm done with the unzipping process. So I've done with the unzipping and download process. So it took actually less than 5 minutes there. So we're done with step one. Now next is to start a NoSQL KV store. So here is the command to start a KV store. So let me go back to the virtual box here. I'm going to open up a terminal. Let's look for that directory, kv.0.9. So here I'm going to run the CLI that I show you. I'm going to start a KV store. We call it a KV Lite store, which is a one node store, KV store, and it's great for testing. Oops, misspell here. So it's starting the KV store. I'm going to open up another terminal and I'm going to ping the store to make sure the store is running fine. Here's the command to ping. So you have to define this is called a KV host. What's the host and the port? Missing a As you can see, it's running, it's live, and it's showing a one note store. So next, I'm going to show the admin module. Here is the command. So we're in the KV store prompt here. I reset the terminal, so now it's clean. You can see a KV CLI prompt there. So from here, you actually can do a lot of stuff. And I'm just going to run through a few administrative commands. And for the rest of the commands, you can look at the administration guide. For example, I can show the version running. So it is showing version 4.0.9. I also can show the topology. As you can see, there is only one node here. KV Lite is the name. It's running. Capacity 1. Partitioned. There are 10 partitions in here. Verify is to verify the configurations. And history, it just lists out all the history, what I've typed before. And again, there are tons of other commands, and you actually can load data here, export data, and other commands are available here. So I've shown these commands, set up the KV Lite store, run through some administrative commands. Next, we should talk about how this database can be used in the use case we talked about earlier, the pizza delivery business. So we know these are the numbers, and there will be 57,083 deliveries per hour. And these are like the kind of data I need to capture and the operations needed. Okay, so now let's get back to this guy, this picture here. We talked about before there's too much data to track on paper. So now Tim will need to come up with an application which he is going to monitor the business all the way from oil consumptions, the location of the vehicles, the condition of the pizza, and also his business, the profit and whatnot. Now, before everything was on paper, now he can use Oracle NoSQL database to do this. He can start out small. As the business grows, he can expand to multiple cluster. All right, let's talk a little bit about the kind of data model he's going to use. So imagine all these are tables. We're going to use the table data model. There will be a customer profile, the customer order, the vehicles profile, and the trip informations here. As you can see, these will be the child table of the parent table customer and the parent table vehicles. For the demo purposes, we'll be using the vehicles and vehicles child table for the demo. Let me set up the demo next. So here's a JSON format of the feed coming in. It has the VIN number, the driver's ID, the type of vehicle, and the feed. The feed is an array of records. So it has the timestamps, it has the location, it has the speed, And the timestamps for the next record. We keep track of all these locations and fuel used. So all these are running to this application. And there is a NoSQL driver on the client side, which talks to the backend server. It's a key value database. So the key will be the VIN data time, and the feed object will be the value. So that's how we are displaying the data. So here is the demo application setup and flow. We talk about the feed coming in from here. The format is going to be like these, a whole bunch of JSON records, all right? And there'll be a process for loading the data into the store. And I'm going to show two ways of loading the data. Then there is a process of creating schemas before you load the data, actually, and then reading the data, and then present it in the dashboard. Let me start setting up the demo. So here's the demo flow from the perspective of developers. So we will create a NoSQL table schema and then insert record into the NoSQL table, retrieve the record from the table using Java. I'll show two examples, one using Java, the other one will be using SQL. Step one is to create table schema. Before we talk about, we'll be using two tables. One is the vehicles table, the parent table, and the child table. As you can see here, the parent table, the profile has the VIN number, which is a string, make, model, they are all string, year, fuel type, it could be diesel, gas, electric, vehicle type, it could be SUV, van, truck, car. And you look at the child table, these are keeping record of the feed. If you look at here, the current time, the locations, the fuel use, the odometer. So these are the variables within this table or the item. Now here is a sample code, a Java sample code for creating the table, as you can see here. So you make VIN a string, make a string, model a string. Then here we'll create the index. All right. And here is the command to execute the creation of the schema. All right. And also the second command here is creating index. This is for the parent table. Now we'll look at the child table. Similar process. Code line are quite similar with a few more lines here, especially this one here, creating an array of records. Within the record is the current time, the locations, odometer. You get the idea. And these are some of the indexes created for searching. And the same command here is used for creating the schema. Next, the example will be load data. So we talk about this data feed here. It will be a file that I have it on the computer, and we'll use that file to load, to kind of simulate the data feed into the database. So this is a very simple JSON type kind of data item. I'll be using two different ways. One to write the data. One is to use a put table from the KV store command line. Remember I showed you the administrations CLI prompt. We're going to use that. Then this is a way to insert data using a Java program. As you can see here, you need to first get the store, kind of connect to the store. Then here's the process for creating a row. Feed row, put each of the item here into the database, and then get table API, put if absent, meaning if there is nothing in the database, add it. So that's how you put a row of item, piece of data into the NoSQL database. And the same process for loading data for the child table is a JSON, simple JSON format. And so here's the data, example of the data we are loading. Here's the code, same thing. Here you create the first, kind of put the row together, then adding to the array, adding to the array, and then use the same command, get table API, put, straightforward there. So we talk about creating schema, two ways of loading data, and we're going to show that right now. I'm going to run the demo. I'm now back at the virtual box. So let me show you the sample data that I talked about earlier. So here is the file, which consists of all the records, all the rows for the parent table. And here's the file for the child table with all the current time stamp, the VIN number, and the odometer. Let me close that file there. So here is the script I'm going to run. So it's running through this script here, the shell script. So this is what it looked like. It actually run the run admin command. Remember the first command that I ran was the administrative CLI command, like show topology and verify, stuff like that. So within that prompt, CLI prompt, you can actually load data. So that's what I'm going to show. So it's a load dash file. So it's going to load this file, which is the file I'll show you. That's the parent profile data source. Next, I'm going to create the schema and load the data. So you see it start to load the data, the JSON file that I showed you before. This is for the parent and the child. So it's going to continuously loading those data. So we are back now at the virtual box. Let me get to the directory that I need first. So this will run the dashboard. Here's the dashboard I show in the slide deck. Let me start the feed. So now it's reading from the database. Um, One of the program that I show you is loading the data while the dashboard is reading the data. So as you can see here, these are the different data in the dial. The mile, average miles per gallon, right? For this vehicle, this VIN number, different VIN number, different vehicles here. That's the average mileage per gallon. And I can show the fuel consumption. That's the number of gallons used for traveling that speed. Finally is the distance travel. Here's the distance travel, miles. All right. All right, so we have seen how the dashboard read the data from the JSON file that we load into the database. That ends the demo for this portions. The last demo I'm going to show is a new feature we released during OW 2016. It's the SQL query feature. It allows you to use standard SQL syntax to query the database. Here is the way to connect to the database. And here are some samples of the SQL syntax. As you can see, it's very standard. So what I'm going to do is to just show the last statement here to make sure it worked, and you should see this kind of result. So we are doing a select on VIN number, driver's ID, date, mile per gallon, total distance from the child table where the driver's ID is this, then order by date in descending order. We are now back at the VirtualBox. So I'm going to connect to the store. You should see a SQL prompt. Now we're going to do the select statement. I had a store before. So you should see this result just like what I showed in the slide deck. All right, that concludes my presentation.